What is the purpose of life? It's a question that has echoed in temples, classrooms, battlefields, and bedrooms. A question whispered by children and obsessed over by philosophers. But before we search for an answer, we must first understand something simple. Life is the only thing we truly know. Everything else, beliefs, identities, ideologies, ambitions, are constructs within the mind. But life itself, it is undeniable. It is happening right now. There is a difference between life and the ambiance of life. Your family is not life, your job is not life, your relationships, your parties, your achievements, but they are settings, they are environments, they are experiences happening within life. But life itself is the raw aliveness inside you, the breath moving in and out, the awareness behind your thoughts, the beating heart that never asked for a reason to beat. Life does not need decoration, it does not need validation, it simply is. Yet the human mind is uncomfortable with just is. It wants structure, it wants certainty, it wants a defined purpose. So we ask, what is my purpose? What am I meant to do? What is the meaning of all this? But what if the very need to define life is the limitation? Life is incredibly intricate, unfathomably complex, endlessly layered, and trying to compress it into a single sentence of meaning may be the pettiness of one's mind. Not because the question is foolish, but because the mind seeks comfort in definition. When we define something, we feel safe around it. When we label it, we feel we understand it. But life cannot be reduced to a label. The desire for purpose often arises not from clarity, but from discomfort. We feel lost, we feel disconnected, we feel insignificant. So we search for a grand mission to anchor ourselves. But this search may not be about truth, it may be about psychological security. We become trapped in our own structure. Thoughts become louder than experience. Emotions become more important than existence itself. We build an identity around suffering, or ambition, or spirituality, or success. And inside that structure, we feel a false sense of safety. I am this. This is my path. This is my purpose. It gives us shape, but shape can also be a prison. When you fix a purpose in your mind, you narrow the vastness of life into a corridor. Suddenly, everything must align with that one idea. And if it doesn't, you suffer. If you succeed, you cling. If you fail, you collapse. Purpose becomes pressure. It becomes obsession. It becomes madness. Because now life is no longer an exploration. It is a task. What if life was never meant to be reduced to a goal? What if life is not a problem to solve, but a phenomenon to experience? Look at a tree. It does not wake up asking, what is my purpose? It grows, it expands, it responds to light, to wind, to seasons. It lives fully. And in that fullness, its existence is complete. Why should you be any different? True living does not come from finding a purpose, it comes from experiencing life totally. To live totally means to observe your thoughts without becoming imprisoned by them, to feel your emotions without being defined by them, to explore your fears, your desires, your contradictions, to understand the mechanics of your own mind. Before death comes, and it will come, to know what it means to be fully alive. That is not a small task, that is immense. When you explore every dimension of yourself, your darkness, your brilliance, your anger, your compassion, your insecurity, your creativity, life becomes rich. Not because you discovered a cosmic assignment, but because you experienced existence deeply. The need for a fixed purpose dissolves when you are intensely alive. Because when you are fully involved in life, you are no longer asking what it means. You are living it. Perhaps the search for purpose is only necessary when we are disconnected from our own aliveness. When life feels dull, we look for meaning. When life feels empty, we look for direction. But when you experience life in its raw intensity, even ordinary moments become profound. A breath, a sunset, a conversation, a silence. Life does not need to be justified. It needs to be experienced. This does not mean you should not work or create or build or dream. Do all of it, but do it as an expression of life, not as a compensation for confusion. Let your actions be playful, explorative, curious, not desperate attempt to secure identity. The irony is this: when you stop obsessing over purpose, clarity naturally arises, not as a rigid mission, but as an organic direction. You move toward what expands you, you move away from what diminishes you, not because it is your purpose, but because you are attentive. And attention is intelligence. In the end, life is not asking you to define it, it is inviting you to experience it totally.